He changed England by changing his mind. October 8th, St. John Henry Newman. Scholar, convert, cardinal. A mind like a one-man library, and a heart that wouldn't lie to itself. He read the fathers, argued with the best, and still crossed the line he once defended. When Benedict XVI came to England to beatify him, it wasn't hype. It was respect. Because Newman proved something rare: style without swagger, courage without noise. He lost friends, titles, income, almost everything. But he kept the one thing that decides a life, the truth as he saw it, obeyed. Stay with me. In the next minutes we'll trace the ideas that cost him so much, and why they still unsettle people today. Oxford made him, and he remade Oxford. He mastered Greek and Latin, swam in scripture, lived with the fathers of the first 5 centuries until their voices felt like colleagues. Tutorial rooms, lamp light, notes layered into notes. He could thread Augustine to Athanasius, then stitch them to the question on your desk, clean, calm, inevitable. His sentences didn't rush. They arrived. Elegance without perfume, precision without chill. He preached at St. Mary's in a tone like flint under velvet, firm, clear, searching. He wrote the hymn Lead, Kindly Light, not to decorate, but to steady a wavering heart. By 30, he was the tutor people feared to disappoint, and the mind people dared to challenge once. This is where the fault line forms, when a scholar reads so much history, that history begins to read him back. Then came the fire. Newman and friends launched the Oxford Movement, the Tracts for the Times, calling England back to the Fathers, the sacraments, the Church as more than a state department. Most tracts stirred debate. One ignited a bonfire, Tract 90. He argued the 39 articles could be read in a Catholic sense, not as a slam on Rome, but as a fence around certain errors. To some, brilliant. To others, betrayal, press attacks, faculty meetings, censure from Oxford authorities. Newman does what real thinkers do under heat. He steps back. He retreats to Littlemore, prays more, publishes less. Because the question won't let go. If history is honest, where does it lead? He tests every plank he's standing on. And one by one, the planks don't hold. Next, the crossing that cost him almost everything and why he did it anyway. Littlemore, night rain against the windows. A tired Italian priest arrives in a soaked cloak. Dominic Barberi. Newman kneels. On October 8, 1845, he is received into the Catholic Church. Quiet room. Immense consequence. Then the bill comes due. Friends step back. Posts disappear. Reputation fractures. He leaves the lecture halls for a small community. No safety net. He does not rage. He builds. The Oratory of St. Philip Neri in Birmingham. Prayer, preaching, confessions, schools. Poverty of status becomes freedom to serve. He keeps studying. He keeps writing. Why cross at all? Because the logic of history would not let him stand still. Because truth without obedience is only an opinion. He bets his whole life that development is real, that doctrine unfolds without mutating its core. Years later, when a public critic sneers, he answers not with outrage, but with a life laid out on paper, Apologia Pro Vita Sua, and the sneer collapses. Development. Truth doesn't mutate. Our grasp of it unfolds. Newman calls it organic, the acorn to the oak. Same life, fuller branches. He offers tests for real growth. Continuity of type, deeper power to explain, harmony with what came before. If a new idea snaps the roots, it isn't growth. Conscience. Not a permission slip. A duty to obey the truth you have honestly found. Yes, he'll drink to the Pope. But to conscience first, and to the Pope afterwards. Not rebellion, right order. Conscience listens, learns, yields. Assent. We don't live by math proofs. We live by converging signs. He calls it the illative sense, a mind trained to weigh people, facts, motives, history, until certainty forms that is more than a syllogism. Faith isn't a hunch. It's a responsible yes to a pattern that holds. This is why Newman unsettles us. Change with continuity, freedom with obedience, certainty without simplism. He hands you a grown-up faith and asks you to use it. He never lunged at a man. He answered an argument. Ink as discipline, logic as mercy. Opponents tugged at a thread. He showed the whole fabric. Read him aloud and you hear it, cadence that carries weight without swagger. No name-calling, no shortcuts. When a public critic tried to smear him, Newman laid out a life in full. Apologia Pro Vita Sua, dates, motives, turns of conscience. The headline shrank. The truth stood. He built minds, not mobs. The idea of a university sketches education as contact with all truth. Faculties talking to each other, reason trained to range. He steadied souls, too. Lead, kindly light wasn't pretty wallpaper. It was a rope in fog. And the lines people quote still bite. To live is to change. To conscience first. Not slogans, summaries of a life obeyed. This is how he fought, with paragraphs that closed doors gently and opened better ones. The red came late and it fit. 1879, Leo XIII makes him cardinal. Motto on his heart, Sor ad sor loquitur, heart speaks to heart. He never chased rank. He chased faithfulness. Birmingham Oratory, preaching, schools, confessions. Ink that built people, not platforms. Fast forward. Across America, secular campuses light a door, Newman centers. A quiet chapel off the quad. A place to think, pray, argue honestly, begin again. 2010. Benedict XVI crosses the channel to beatify him. A rare, personal tribute from a scholar pope. 2019. Canonized. Not a museum piece, a model for minds under pressure. Where does his shadow fall now? On classrooms that teach integration, not tribalism. On homilies that respect conscience, not feelings as law. On writers who fight fair. And on you when you suspect truth can grow without breaking. Because his life says it can. Some say Newman opened the door to anything goes change. He didn't. He mapped development with continuity, roots intact, branches real. Others say he was a secret Roman from the start. No, he wrestled in public, paid in public, obeyed in public. Rumors suggest his line about conscience is a blank check. Read him. Conscience seeks truth, learns, yields, it doesn't crown the self. Reports claim Tract 90 was a trick. Look closer. He tried to save Anglican formularies from anti-Catholic spin, and when the argument failed, he followed the logic further. Said that moderns and traditionalists both claim him. Of course they do, as he's honest enough to unsettle both. So what's left after the noise? A way to think without sneering. A way to change without breaking. A way to obey without shrinking. Take one page, development, apologia, assent, idea of a university. Let heart speak to heart. Then do what he did when the light moved. Follow it. Happy Feast of St. John Henry Newman. If this helped you think, stay with us. Next time we meet another mind that costs something to keep.